Welcome to the Rutherford County School Board work session. Like I said a little earlier, this is the largest audience I've ever experienced at a work session. So welcome and pleased to have you tonight. And we'll start by citing the pledge. If all of our students in the audience would come forth to my right and lead us in the pledge, please. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ms. Michaels, we'll have the moment of silence tomorrow evening. Okay. Okay. Before we move on to the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I have a request. Because of the unique circumstances and to allow the board the opportunity to hear concerns during a work session, I would ask the board's unanimous consent to suspend the rules and allow public comment at the close of our agenda this evening.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Holliday, seconded by Mr. Jordan. Comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll take this up at the end of the meeting. The agenda, questions, discussion. Certainly have several non-faculty coaches
We do.
that have been
Start of the
approved.
year.
So hopefully get those completed before the beginning of the school year. And number 7, you'll have several new administrators
Right,
to
introduce tomorrow evening.
That will be, I think I know all but one. Number 8, I held a committee meeting on Saturday the 9th with naming of the new middle school and the elementary school that will take place there after the middle school is built. Any questions on that tonight, or we can talk about it again tomorrow night?
I've already heard some positive community feedback on that, so nice job.
Thank you. We did not entertain Blair Middle School, so you didn't have to worry about that. So we're good on that. So, and no other board member was suggested either. So, Mr. Owen, let's move to number 9.
Number 9 is website content management system, and Mr. Duke is here tonight to talk about this if you have questions. Rutherford County Schools currently uses a content management system, CMS, for its district website, but each school builds its own website using Adobe Dreamweaver and Adobe Contribute. Adobe is moving its products to a subscription model similar to Microsoft Office, and we must begin paying an annual fee for each license to maintain support for the programs. The current programs are not teacher-friendly because they require users to understand HTML coding. In May, the school district advertised a request for proposal for vendors to provide a software platform to move all district websites to one content management system, which would allow teachers and schools to more easily update their websites and give all schools a professional-looking website. In June, a committee comprised of 3 principals, tech coaches, hardware technology coordinator Steve Solomon, instructional technology coordinator Trey Duke, Community Relations Coordinator James Evans, and others evaluated the top 3 proposals for the new CMS system. Edlio was chosen as the best proposal for Rutherford County Schools. The first-year price to implement the system is $41,000, which includes migration of existing content and training for district personnel. The contract can be renewed annually for up to 5 years. The year 2 cost for renewal will be $37,830 pursuant to the terms of the vendor's proposal. The proposal also includes a new mobile app, which we haven't had before, by the way, for the district, and new websites will be automatically responsive to mobile devices. The motion, recommend approval, the motion will be to approve the EDIO proposal to a content management system for Rutherford County School websites at a cost of $41,000 for the first year and a renewal option for up to 5 years. And remember, where we were getting some free, the old one we had went to a subscription base that was actually higher priced than what the RFP came out. But anyway, Mr. Duke's here to talk about it if y'all
Mr. Duke, if you'll come
want
up
to
to the
step up
podium.
and kind of address some questions related, because it's a pretty good change for us.
I've been working with Mr. Evans on this, and of course, he's out of town tonight, and so he asked me to stop in. It's really more, it goes in our public relations and our communications piece as well, when we're looking at how we can make sure we're communicating to all our parents. As the amendment, or as the agenda says, the current system we're using is very cumbersome on teachers, to the point we feel like they're not using it to best communicate with parents so that they should, because of the extensive knowledge they have to make simple updates to their webpage. So not only will this give us a much easier platform to use, it also gives us some great additional features for parents. If parents have multiple children in multiple schools, in multiple classes, they can subscribe to their teachers' web pages, and every day at the end of the day, they'll get one email with information from every teacher in the building as well. So a lot more user-friendly to use, a lot more options for parents, and then it works across all platforms on their iPhones, on their tablets, on their computers as well.
Student Messenger, that's a completely different.
Yes.
That's a phone-based.
Yes, that is. So that's a little different. This will put, again, every school on one platform. So the school pages will look somewhat similar as far as layout's concerned as you move across the schools. So that was something the principals liked as well. Obviously, we like from a parent standpoint, as they move schools, they know where to find things and look at it that way. What it will allow us to do, if there's an emergency, school closing, anything like that, Mr. Evans will be able to push one update, and he'll be able to push an update to every school webpage as well.
Actually, School Messenger did bid on it, but was not as attractive as this one. But we're still maintaining basically the telephone system, right?
Yes.
So School Messenger is still there, but this is really more in line with what way people use it today.
So if a parent is wanting to contact their student's teacher, they would utilize this system through the school's website?
Just as always, it'll be a much easier way for parents to navigate the system as well, so that all the teacher content information will be up there as well. But one of the things we really like from a parent standpoint is that whole idea of, you know, not only can they go to the website and get information, they can actually subscribe and have the information pushed to them. So every afternoon, if a teacher makes a new assignment, if a teacher adds things to her web pages, instead of the parent having to go look, it'll actually push it to the parents if the teacher updates their web page.
Oops, students, right?
I'm sorry? That's right.
Students, parents are going to know more.
Anybody else?
Yeah, do we know the cost of year 3, 4, and 5 if we're looking at a 5-year contract?
It is similar current to the numbers that we have from the RFP. It's similar around the 34,000 range for what I currently have as far as the RFP is concerned.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
10A.
10A is the AIP Energy Consultant Contract. Ron Graham has submitted a proposal to consult with our Energy Conservation Program for the first quarter of the 2016-17 fiscal year. This will allow Ron to finish up some ongoing projects and be available for input and consulting on the approximately $2 million worth of automated controls that will be approved by Energy Efficient Schools Initiative this Thursday and installed in 19 more Rutherford County schools. The full proposal is attached under a tab for full review. The cost of this proposal is $10,000 for the consulting service. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve the proposal of AIP Ron Graham in the amount of $10,000 for consultation with Rutherford County Schools Energy Conservation Program for the first quarter of fiscal year 2016-17. Mr. Clardy is prepared to speak to that if you would like. Of course, you've seen Mr. Graham has presented to you before, so this is not a totally new person, but he's here if you'd like to hear more about that.
Board members, would you like to hear from Mr. Clardy? I think you're good tonight.
On this part, his other part.
10B,
10B is the Rocky Fork Middle School clearing and grubbing deductive change order. Bomar Construction Company has submitted a deductive change order number 2, in the amount of $7,500 for the clearing and grubbing contract on Rocky Fork Middle School. This reduces the cost of this project from $623,436.75 to $615,936.75. The final transaction completes that contract. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve a deductive change order number 2, in the amount of $7,500 for Rocky Fork Middle School clearing and grubbing as presented.
again, saving us money, so thank you. Good job. Yes, sir.
Mr. Blair, I'd just like to give my guys credit back there. They're all very cost conscious, and they're always looking for ways to save money without cutting corners.
Well, you should have a chart back in your office with the streak that you have for the money that you've saved. So again, on behalf of the taxpayers, thank you, and us. 10C.
10C is funding for automated control system for energy efficient school initiative. Remember, the energy efficient school initiative is a state initiative. You know, it's where the funding legislature and others do this one. Funding to place automatic control systems on HVAC units in 19 Rutherford County schools and changing the gym lighting from metal halide to LED at Rockville Middle School and Rock Springs Middle School has been procured through the Energy Efficient School Initiative, totaling $2,137,047. These funds are loan proceeds and are allocated to Rutherford County schools with a 0.0075% or 0.75% administrative fee. These project paybacks range from less than a year, 0.7 years, to 7 years. This loan will be paid off through energy savings. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve a loan from Energy Efficient School Initiative in the amount of $137,047 at a 0.0075% administrative fee. The proceeds will be used to fund automated control systems at 19 schools and 2 gymnasium lighting projects as presented.
Questions?
19 additional schools brings us to a total of how many?
We have some existing schools that have the systems in them. So there'll be a few more projects hanging out there that's not pretty.
Okay.
With these automatic control systems in place, when the heat index is hitting 108, like it has last week or so, I think this week, possibly in August when school, I assume that that's really is less traumatic on the units as to have something in place like that. Would I be correct?
It is, so they're not working themselves to death, but we're in the process of upgrading units also at this time. For instance, we're working on Rock Springs Middle School and putting new units there. We're starting Laverne Middle School next week. And then we have, I can't recall which two they are, but we have Smyrna Elementary is one of them. And there's another one which we will, the fall break, be upgrading those chillers. So to answer your question, yes, it does help us control them. We have setback times on those, and we can set them from here in the office. We're not going to let anyone get hot. We're not going to let anyone get cold, but we do have the option through those to control those from the maintenance building over here, anywhere we can get to a computer.
Based on demand charge, you might mention that, why we do this, one of the things too.
Yes, the main reason we do this is peak demand charges. And if we have a bunch of units that, for instance, kick on at 10 o'clock in the morning and run the demand up, the peak demand, for that month, then you pay the rate on what that demand charge is for the rest of the month. So if you can turn these units on slowly and keep from raising the demand up and making it peak, you can save a lot of money over the month.
Staggers the start time, which usually is before school, typically, but you can stage it and stagger it.
What is the typical life of a chiller and the expense to replace normally?
These that we're replacing are from $80,000 to $120,000. Some of them are more depending on how big they are. Rock Springs, this is the first time we've replaced those chillers, and I guess that school has been open for 15, 18 years maybe. Rock Springs Middle. Yeah. 15. So that is probably the life expectancy. On some of these things, it's almost like they're engineered to go out on the warranty date. We have had some compressors, for instance, that have a 5-year warranty, 5 years and 1 day, they go out. So we have continued over the year as money became available to continue to upgrade these chillers when we're replacing them, get a better chiller, and also get a higher efficiency rating on them.
Anybody else? Number 11.
Number 11 is something good for our employees. The VALIC 403B and 457B supplemental retirement plans. On March 17, 2016, the board voted to change Rutherford County Schools' 403B and 457B plans from VALIC's annuity platform to their mutual fund platform effective September 1st, 2016. As we got into the procedural changes for this switchover, it became clear that we would not make this change under the terms of our existing contract with VALIC. VALIC has offered to amend our current contract and reduce the fees to our employees by 20 basis points or 0.20%. This change would save our employees $19,500 per year in fees. With this amendment, there will be no need for our employees to make changes to their VALIC 403B and or 457B accounts. VALIC has been our ongoing 403B and 457 provider since September 2008. Our participating employees and former employees have over $14 million in their accounts as of June 30th, 2016. This will require two motions. One, recommend approval. The motion is to rescind the board's vote on March 17, 2016 to move Rutherford County Schools 403B and 457B plans to VALIC's mutual fund platform effective September the 1st, 2016. And the second motion is recommend approval to approve the amendment to the contract for the VALIC 403B and 457B plans, which reduces the fees our participating employees pay by 20 basis points.
Since this is a work session, Mr. Sandvig, would you remind the board basically what the 403B and what the 457B plans are?
These are supplemental retirement plans comparable to a 401k. The conditions for withdrawals are a little bit different between the two plans. And we have probably 850 employees contributing anywhere from $10 a month to, we have some who are contributing the maximum $23,000 a year. And yeah, we have Roth, which are, you contribute after tax money, and we have traditionally contribute before tax money.
Thank you. B.
Well, we thought we were ahead on this one, but this is the motion. The General Purpose School 2016-2017 budget amendments. This is the amendment to move software final state accounts. You remember earlier in the year, they sent us a list of how they wanted the line items in your budget to be. for the new software accounts. Well, they've sent us an updated list, and the line items are different now. There's no monies, no new monies. It's just putting the correct line item that the state wants to use now. So this amendment reallocates $4,854,683 in already budgeted software and other technology budgeted expenditures to the specific function object code combinations the State Department of Education has asked us to use beginning with the 2016-17 year. At the time the budget was approved, the list of approved function object code combinations had not been released. Recommend approval. The motion is to amend $4,854,683 in already budgeted software and other technology budgeted expenditures to the specific function object code combinations the State Department of Education has asked us to use beginning with the 2016-17 year as presented. Again, no new monies, anything. It's just getting it in the correct line item that they want it reported as.
They
You
love
can't
to-
get a-
They love to make up line items.
They
don't
pull our chain sometimes.
Yes, they do. Michael, should I have another page? I'm sorry. I'm missing a page. Thank you. Number two.
Number two, and this is a big one or new one that I think we need to look at, unassigned fund balance transfer to building program. This amendment transfers $11 million from the general purpose school fund unassigned fund balance to the school building program fund 189. $5,501,000 of this transfer will cover the needed increase in the construction budget for Rocky Fork Middle School. The bids for the Rocky Fork Middle School were opened on June 28, 2016, and that evening, the school board awarded the contract to R.G. Anderson for a total of $34,287,000. In order to meet the planned August 2017 opening date for the school, a purchase order for site development was issued. The $5,499,000 balance of this transfer will be used for latter elementary projects. The county could have to borrow approximately $12,900,000 in order to net the $11 million of elementary school construction funds. This $11 million is available due to unbudgeted growth in 2015-2016 local revenues, BEP growth funds, and savings in budgeted medical insurance. Recommend approval. The motion is to amend a transfer of $11 million from the general purpose school fund unassigned fund balance to the school building program, Fund 189, with $5,501,000 of this transfer used to cover the needed increase in the construction budget for Rocky Fork Middle School, and the $5,499,000 balance of this transfer to be used for the latter elementary projects as presented. And Mr. Sammy can answer several questions, but if you remember, basically the state did come through with more money. We received growth funds this year. We didn't receive last year. That was added to your unassigned fund balance. There was a one-time savings from the spouses and all on our insurance that was a little over $4 million. So what you're looking at is a one-time, when you were doing your budget, you did not know for sure that this was coming in. You know, it's one of those last-minute things that happens typically in June with the state. So this does allow us, instead of going back to the bond fund or kind of with the commission, to try to complete these projects with monies. Now, another thing that we're looking at, and we can borrow from this and pay it back. This is already shared funds. We all have to share with basically the city on those funds. But one of the things this lets us do, we need to start the design for the new Rockville High School. And we need to start it almost ASAP. So we can kind of work from this, because it doesn't take all of this, for the Rocky Fork Middle School, and kind of work out something there to go ahead and begin this design project so that we'll be ready to go. So again, please ask your question. Mr. Sandvig here, I think, can answer the questions we have, but that's kind of the background.
Certainly a needed school immediately. The sooner the better. Whitworth Buchanan, I suspect, is the only middle school that's not overflowing. Is that correct?
Well, we run from over 1,100 or more down to Whitworth Buchanan, which is more in the 800 or so range. But Mr. Zago and our principals are reporting vigorous enrollment early this year, so I've got a feeling there, when we get to total the numbers, it's going to be another increase. Remember, last year, for those of you in our audience and all, Rutherford County Schools saw about a 1,200 student increase just last year in enrollment. And so over the last 10 years, we've certainly exceeded over 10,000 new students. And that's not happening across the state in many places. So we're growing a school per year, basically, for the last several years in enrollment. Rutherford County schools are attractive, and it's bringing people here, so.
Do we have a preliminary projection for next year, or is it way too early to even?
I think, again, last year we finished about 2.9 to 3% student growth numbers. From the building that I'm seeing, I can't see it down very much, so you can take 3% of we finished with 42,500 and something, so 3% of 42,000 throws you 1,300 students, just if you maintain the growth you had last year. I'm not sure it's not going to be higher than what I'm seeing, but anyway, we won't know for sure until we have a registration.
Anybody? Okay. Ms. Barnes, insurance meeting, August 26th. Okay. Chairman Hodge, update on the legislature tomorrow night, or?
Yeah, it's still tomorrow night. I have included everybody a copy of the legislative report on the bills from this last year. They're more or less going into effect, so you may want to take a look at them when we talk about them tomorrow night.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Holliday, anything from Congress that we need to be aware of? Or you want to talk about that tomorrow night also?
Yeah, we'll hold that for tomorrow night.
Okay. We are now at the general discussion by board members.
I got one thing when you get a chance.
Does anybody have anything? Mr. Odom has something to share.
I provided you a copy of, the state is negotiating with hardware companies the cost of machines. These are basically netbooks. So one of the things that we're not making, this is not a recommendation, it's just beginning information to you to absorb. So we have basically been purchasing, in order to get as many as we can with the budget we have, 3-year-old machines. This would be the price of 1-year-old machines, basically on a lease purchase basis. And so what we can do in a case like this, and you'll see the cost is actually less over 3 years on a lease purchase basis under this new agreement than basically what we have been able to buy them for. So it's something that may be attractive. School systems all over the state are beginning to look at this. At the end of 3 years, the cost of the machine was what?
$20 to $25, which if you added that to the lease agreement, it was still less than if we bought them out of line.
So at the end of the 3 years with the new machine, if we can tell them to either take them back, or if they're still usable and we like them, we can say we'll give you $20, $25 is part of the state's agreement. And the state is the one negotiating this. This happens to be Lenovo, gave you one example. Dell, anybody else that's bidding on it is essentially the same. You just maybe a few dollars between the two. So anyway, I just want to give y'all something to think about, look at, and see. So if down the line this is the direction we want to go with hardware technology, you would begin to be aware of it. You probably can't buy this at home for that price.
Questions? Okay. Anybody has anything else during the general discussion portion? Okay. Hearing none, we will, as per the motion and second, to suspend the rules and to go to public comments. Ladies and gentlemen, we've set aside as board policy 30 minutes for public comment, 3 minutes per speaker. Having said that, the board will remain after the meeting along with the director of schools and the assistant superintendent of finance, Mr. Jeff Sandvig. If you don't know him, Mr. Sandvig, raise your hand so they can approach you. So now you can put a face with a name, and then we'll, ladies and gentlemen, what we'll do is start out with 3 adults. That you're not young adults, young ladies and gentlemen, but we'll start out with 3 adults in order. And then I do not want to have this meeting go with the students taking the initiative to come. The board certainly would like to hear from them. So we'll, Matt, once we start, will you keep time and let me know? Let me know when there's 20 minutes are up, and let me know when there's 25. And then we'll 30, okay? I would like to say to you tonight, and again, welcome. We're pleased to talk with you and listen to your concern. The issue that you're coming to share your thoughts with us started several months ago, and I've lost count the number of meetings that we have as a board discuss this issue. And I would like to assure you that the board does not want to end your booster club. We appreciate it, and can't tell you how many meetings that we've shared our thankfulness for having you. We don't want to tell you how to spend the money you raise. We don't want to tell you how to raise it. But the Bookkeeper 2 program will give us an additional layer of accountability and transparency. And we've had some problems that many of you may or may not be aware of in the recent past. And the board has approved the Bookkeeper 2 position. It has been funded by the commission. Half of the Bookkeeper 2 positions have already been field, and the interviews continues to go on, I guess, as we speak. The only question in my mind is implementation and the time that it takes to do that. And the board, I think, will leave that in the very capable hands of our director of schools and his assistant superintendent of finance, which they now look over a budget of $340 million. So I really believe that we got this, and we will help this move along. And you know, I hope you will trust us that this is the best thing for our district. Board members, other comments before we get to the public meeting? Ms. Moore.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just want to kind of give it perhaps a different perspective on this for all of you that are here this evening and for my fellow board members. I know that all of my fellow board members have children that have been through the school system, so they've experienced the same thing that I am now. But, you know, I'm able to look at this from the perspective of being a board member, but also being a parent that is currently very active and involved in a high school booster club. So believe me when I tell you that I get it and I understand concerns where y'all are coming from, I think, to the most part. But to me, I guess I'm surprised that this has turned into an issue at all, and I think maybe there have been some miscommunications and misunderstandings. I was very bothered by the press release that came out that said that the board was attempting to disband some of these clubs. Nothing could be further from the truth. You know, I empathize and I relate to your passion and your commitment to hard work. I know that we all pour that into our booster clubs. We're trying to make these clubs and these organizations the best we can for our kids. And there certainly was never any intent on the part of the board to undermine that ability to do that. I do think that we need to really look at the reasons for this, and I think, again, as Mr. Blair mentioned, everybody understands that there have been some significant concerns that have come out over the last couple of years with mismanagement of funds within our booster clubs. And I know personally, from a parent's perspective that's active on one of those booster clubs, I would be actually very grateful for the additional oversight. At the end of the day, when concerns are expressed or things are brought out in the press, it is, after all, the director of schools, the school board, our director of finance, whose names are going to be in the newspaper being criticized for those kind of actions or activities. I grant you that I understand that the implementation of program changes like this can be cumbersome. Change is never fun. But I think in the long term that these bookkeepers are going to be able to offer an assistance to these clubs that will be invaluable and enable the clubs to have more time and energy to actually focus on your fundraising efforts and enjoying your children's performances. And I do have total confidence in our director of schools and our director of finance's commitment to work with our clubs to determine the best and the least painful transition plan for all of these booster clubs. But again, I think the fact that we have to and we're obligated to have a fiduciary responsibility as a school system and a board to provide and protect a higher level of financial and fiduciary responsibility is one that was necessary, and I'm confident that it will be implemented to everyone's best efforts, and there's no intention of undermining fundraising efforts. We applaud the boosters for the fundraising efforts that they do, and there's no intent to take that away.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Mr. Jordan?
We, as a board, appreciate our booster clubs really more and more. I was told by 3 people within the last 48 hours or so that the Stewart's Creek High School band was going to take 330 people, I believe that's the correct number, to Hawaii to celebrate the 75th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. That will cost a lot of money, and they will raise every penny of it because the Rutherford County taxpayers will not be paying for that. And we really, not only, that's just one example, I'm going to give you another one in a minute. Extracurricular activities, I don't care what they are. About half our students in the Rutherford County schools take part in something. Their student government, their science club, their band, their archery, their volleyball, whatever. And one very unusual thing that a lot of people are not aware of, but we are because our athletic director tracks this, those students, their grades are higher, even though they're pouring more and more time into an extracurricular activity. I would submit that they're interested students who like their schools and want to represent them in some way, or in some cases, more than one way. Just about 2 meetings ago, this board approved, which we have to do by law, $160,000 worth of funds that booster clubs had raised. Actually, we approved over $250,000 in one meeting. $160,000 of that was for various bands in the county that booster clubs raised for those students. Obviously, we were very interested as a board. What was going to happen here? And I don't want to talk about the past very much. It's been all over the newspapers. It stayed there for 18 months. Everybody in the room knows what I'm talking about. We had a disaster. You know that. And we had to act. Before we acted, going on now really more than a year, Eagleville brought everything into their school, dollars that were raised. Now, I'm familiar with that because my grandson just graduated from Eagleville, and I was a member of the baseball deal, or I would have been divorced if I hadn't done that. So, and they raised a good deal of money for that baseball. They brought it all into the school. Blackman brought it all into the school. Others were going to follow. Essentially, all this board did was because the bookkeeper at whatever school you want to name was so horribly overworked and consistently behind, we added a bookkeeper to help. That's all. It passed this board 7-0, passed Health and Education 7-0. There was never a question, by the way, about the bookkeeper at all. It passed budget, no more questions there, 5-2. It passed the county commission 19-2 because the commission had read the paper, I would submit to you, and they knew that we did not want a repetition of this. And I submit to you that if we had had a repetition and we had allowed that to happen, it would have essentially been our fault. And we're trying to make sure that it does not occur again. When we met with Mr. Sandvig one night, there was, I don't know how many people were here. Mr. Sandvig, about 30, 35 or so people. Mr. Estes met with us, and we listened to all the Booster Club's comments and whatnot. I was extremely impressed, and I thank you for whatever volunteer you are doing, whatever job you are doing to help these students. We're going to protect. The intent here is to protect everybody. Most important, of course, is to make sure that the student, whether it be choir or archery or whatever, that the money is spent on what they raise it for. Now, that is a concern, and we are actively working to make sure that that takes place. But we also want to protect the Booster Club itself, the school, the student, and the Rutherford County taxpayers, which is really us. That's really the money that we have belongs to the taxpayers, and to do what we say we're going to do. And we want this to work in the worst way, and we are going to try our very best to assist. And there's nobody in the state. I can't speak about how great this board is. I think it's a strong school board, but we've got a tremendous director, and we've got a finance director that is second to none in this state. He will work with you, and we want this to work. And again, I thank you for coming tonight. I'm delighted, and I'm anxious to hear whatever comments you may have. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Anybody else?
Say something if I could.
Mr. Odom, please.
Yeah, and I would join with the other board members in saying how much we appreciate booster clubs. You know, if we worked solely on taxpayer-funded monies, we would not have the athletic facilities, the bands, so many things that's done. Meeting after meeting, if you attend very many of these, you'll find some booster organization is bringing something by law, as Mr. Jordan said, if it's added to our property or something like that, we have to approve it, it's done. Eagle Scouts bring things and do projects on, so it's not uncommon at all. The initial discussion with to get the bookkeepers was tied, as Mr. Jordan said, to our bookkeepers telling us because of our high schools now are typically 2,000 students or more. And so one person handling that from all these organizations internally, the state gives so much money per teacher, we give technology monies to school, you know, per student to be spent and all this has to be accounted for within the software that our people just didn't have enough hours to do it. So the whole discussion started with, what can we do some way to help our bookkeepers survive and still meet all the scrutiny that comes with it. So it started with that. The thing, as we talked about, and we talked about job descriptions for what we came to call Bookkeeper 2, in our minds also was some of the things we talked about, audit findings from the comptroller, that sort of thing. I know I get asked, and board members will get asked, if one of these hits the paper, the question is from the public, how did that happen, and what are you going to do about it? And we're responsible. We have to answer that question. So part of this is a reaction to that. I want to say to you again, this would not be an experiment. Ms. Jordan mentioned some of this too. Eagle has done it for a while. Blackman High has done it for a while. Every middle school has brought in boosters and organizations, except for I think there's one middle school baseball. All of the others, the middle school for years have handled it internally with the one bookkeeper, although they're not as large as your high school. So it's not an experiment that we're looking at here. It's just a process that we actually have been doing in cases all over. The other thing that I might say, just kind of in summary, you know, and I'll have to say I'm with these board members quite often. I have never once heard this board, either individually or collectively, insinuate any desire whatsoever to shut down booster clubs, because they approve it on a meeting by meeting basis what booster clubs do. They're not saying that. I've not heard that. I don't know really where that came from. Another thing for you is the public and people that's watching this on TV. This school system and all 46 schools are required by law to have an annual audit by an independent auditor that we have to bid out, that comes in and makes the report. So any monies that's deposited with this or is handled through our schools is fully audited. It's very transparent, it's open. After that audit is done, that report goes to the comptroller's office. They have to produce a book, which is about yay thick, that has all county departments, not just the school system, but all other county departments, any kind of findings, any recommendations that's made. And if it's a department or something, you have to tell the comptroller's office, what do you plan to do about it? What is your resolution to this finding and what it might be? So, and that's open to the board members, it's open to the commissioners, it's open to the media, it's open to the public. The other thing that we have to watch very closely is Internal Revenue Service. If somebody works for us that's on our regular payroll, you'll see on board agenda meetings, just like you saw tonight sometime, if we have a person coming in, we have to make sure the withholding takes place. If not, it's a violation of IRS rules, and that would be a problem for the Booster Club, for us. If we know it, it just can't happen. You can't get in trouble. So all of that's above board, has to be reported, and the proper withholdings help from that. Again, we have 46 schools. We do not have any goal to tell you how to expend your funds. I don't recall this board telling any Booster Club how to expend their funds. That's not our thing. So I don't care if your Booster Club is handling $1,000 or $300,000. What the public wants for us is just openness and transparency. That's what they really want, and that's what we want to help you do, to put some procedures in place so that the public retains confidence in the money we raise, and then ultimately the school board, the Booster Club, and ultimately the students benefit from this transparency and confidence that the public has in its public schools. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Mr. Odom. Mr. Sandvig, I think you have a meeting planned. You can share your thoughts real quick.
I sent out some invitations. I want this to be a small meeting. I sent out invitations to 6 different groups. Thursday, July 28th. I tentatively, in our break room behind here, but I envisioned, 6 to 10 people, me and a couple of staff, specific questions. How do you propose to accomplish this? What problems do you all see? So far, I think most everything can be accomplished within the school activity fund accounting.
The rules haven't been written yet.
No.
That's why he's having this
Right.
initial meeting, to hear from, picking some mainly large bands, also some athletic things too, to see what needs to be in the rules that you can live with, and we can meet the audit's requirements.
And, if there are things we truly cannot do in the school activity funds, that is the point at which my staff and I, Mr. Odom, will come back to the board with a proposal. Okay, we do this part. If there's truly something we can't handle, there are a lot of things we can handle. One of the questions that my staff have gotten, a concern that, if the money goes into the school activity funds, like it rolls up and we won't be able to access it. We will be setting up restricted funds. One of the big points in governmental accounting, what the money is raised for, it has to be spent that way. There will be, say, a football account that we'd have it in a separate from the school football account. But it would be a support organization football account. Those funds would only be used for football. Anything that was left would stay and be available the next fiscal year for football. There are things like that that we will be able to handle through our accounting, and we will of course do all of that.
With the meeting that you're speaking of, if you have some questions and solutions, how will you communicate that to the various booster clubs?
Well, we tend to try to communicate to the booster clubs through the schools, through the school bookkeepers. We do have a listing, and the emails I sent to today, a couple of them errored out. Probably some officers have changed since that because the 2016-17 listings are not due yet. So that we've gotten a few, but I probably have some information that emails that went to old officers. But I also have on August 18th my second meeting with booster officials here in the boardroom. Again, we'll send word out for that, but I think that is at 6:30 on August 18th.
Is that a meeting just like Mr. Jordan?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Estes attended?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So you announced that date because everybody's welcome? Is that-
Yes. Yeah, they are. We have had standing room only at that meeting before.
Thank you, Mr. Sandvig. We'll now move to the public comment. We'll go with 3 adult speakers, and then we will try to move with the students. I understand the students will come together in a group. You know, if you're with a particular high school, the students will come together, and I was told that probably the students would not speak very long. Matt is going to keep our time and let us know when 20 minutes has expired, and then 25, and at 30 minutes we will cease and adjourn the meeting. But again, I will share with you that the director of schools, the assistant superintendent over finance, and I'm sure the board members will stay. So if you want to talk to us, we'll be here. Okay? If you would, especially if you're an adult, you'll share your name, your address, tell us what stakeholder program that you're involved in. Students, when you come forward, only your name, not your address. Okay? First up is Mr. Tom Gilbert. Welcome, Mr. Gilbert. Again, we're trying to stay with 3 minutes so we can get as many people as possible.
Tom Gilbert, I live at 2802 Palace Place, and I'm currently serving as the Vice President of the Siegel High School Band Boosters Club. And I thank you all for this opportunity to come speak to you all today. One of the things that really is bothering me, both as a parent and as a booster officer, seems to be the lack of the general plan. It seems that we hired in the positions before the plan was there and implemented. Seems a little bit backward when we're dealing with IRS nonprofit organizations such as ourselves. As a parent, I've had a student in the Siegel Band for 9 years. As I said, I have the opportunity, and currently now I'm serving. I have the potential to continue to work with this program for another 6 years, to have another student in the band for another 6 years. So yes, I'm going for the longest booster alumni association, I guess. It'll be a long time before I get there. I think there are legal ramifications around how payments go out, signatures on checks, things that weren't very well thought through that relate to some of our larger organizations, our 501c3s. To me, as the vice president this year, 2 of the things that I'm charged with are to help in the volunteer and to help with our volunteer committees, which obviously requires a lot of parent involvement. Over the years, our parent involvement has astronomically increased. The trend toward volunteer trends, both nationwide and here in Middle Tennessee, is quite the opposite. It's 24.9% of volunteers even giving part of their time. So as you can see, we're in a diverse trends there for it. From the other side, as the band officer, I'm also responsible for the corporate sponsorships. And as you'll hear tonight, I have several corporate sponsors that are very reluctant until there is a plan in place to even to commit to it, simply because of the legal status of what will happen with the 501c3s and how those donations and that plan will follow through. So again, I thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Okay, next is Towns Parsley. Am I saying that correctly?
Congratulations, you got it right.
Hey, enunciation has not been my strong suit. Welcome.
Thank you. So my name is Towns Parsley. I live at 1115 Bella Vita Place. That's really just down Siegel High School, right across the street. I think I'm in your district or however that's sliced up. I want to talk about two things, funding and essentially the free labor. But before I did that, I just wanted to really kind of reiterate what you all talked about. I recognize you got a pretty significant issue. I read the papers like everybody else, and you needed to do something about it, and you did, which is nice, and you funded it, which is really nice, because I realize how difficult that is. So I want to be sure everyone understands that you guys are trying to do the right thing. I would also agree, though, that we still have some work to do. So let me talk about funding. My company, I'm a senior vice president of a company called ODL. We're a building materials manufacturer based in Tennessee, Michigan, Toronto, and the UK. And we routinely make donations in the communities that we serve where we have employees. We have a very open policy about that with a few exceptions. And one of them is, if they don't have a 501c3, we won't donate. And we specifically won't donate directly to schools. It just gets to be too political and too difficult. So we donated $1,000 last year to Siegel High School Band. If the 501c3 doesn't exist, we won't donate that money. It's just a matter of company policy, and that's just kind of the way we operate. So I want to make sure you all understood that. I would imagine I'm not unique in that respect. And it's not about Rutherford County. That's our corporate-wide policy globally, and I would imagine that's pretty standard for a lot of companies. So that's at risk, and a lot of your large organizations use the corporate funding. The other thing I want to talk about is the labor. So in my business, all these volunteers, my wife helps feed the band. It's 25, 30 hours a week, unbelievable amount of time. I have no problem with that. She's willing to do it. I think it's terrific. If we ask her to fill out purchase orders like I do in my company with the purchasing department 3 weeks in advance, and we've got a band that has made finals, and we got to move that band and feed them, it's just not going to be practical to have thought about that and have a purchase order for 180 Chick-fil-A meals in Chattanooga. It's just not practical for us to do it that way. I've heard someone say, well, put it on your personal credit card. That's not practical at all. I love the band, but I'm not funding 180 Chick-fil-A's. So, okay, that's it, my time. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Parsley. Okay. Next up, I'll probably mess this one up. Mr. Bob Gerard. Woohoo! Well, after you, we will we'll attempt to have some students.
Sounds good.
Welcome.
So, first of all, I want to thank everybody on the board. I mean, I know the work you've done. The reason I came to Rutherford County primarily was the school system. And although I married a girl from Murfreesboro, I was down in Florida.
Name
is Bob Gerard, 2422 Choctaw Trace, here in Murfreesboro. I'm a father of 2 previous students at Siegel High School that also were members of the Siegel High School marching band. Proud of what they did. They both graduated. They're at MTSU. One of them is going to work with or play with the band as well, so that's exciting. I attribute their success to going to MTSU, getting several or many dollars worth of, what's the word I'm looking for? Okay, we got it. Scholarships. I attribute that to the system, to the city schools, the Rutherford County schools, but I also attribute it, as you guys well know, to the extracurricular activities. I think that had a lot to do with it. The purpose for me talking today is really, everybody's concerned about this. We know the issues, and I really appreciate your comments to start with, to clarify, hey, we're for you. Not that I didn't think you weren't, but I was really concerned about the procedures that were coming out. And I looked at them to echo, and they were impractical for what I saw in the Siegel Band for 4 years. The volume of transactions, just simply the volume, is just pretty crazy. Being a past president from last year, I certainly saw that firsthand. Being also not only a personal donor, but also a corporate sponsor. Our company looks for a 501c3 as well. And I would be greatly concerned if the 501c3 was in jeopardy. I heard it isn't. Yeah, but I do believe that a 501c3, you have to have funds in there to keep it. And that's my understanding of it. I'm not a CPA, but that's my basic understanding. I hope going forward, that meeting you were talking about on July 28th, and we continue to work together to figure out the nuances of all the different clubs, because they're all a little bit different, from a large band to the swim club. Everybody has their different needs. So I appreciate what you're doing, listening to us. Thank you so much. I do have a great concern about that as a corporate sponsor with what the process is. So we're obviously very concerned when we donate that good things are going on with it as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay. Maddie Bridges. Maddie, if you want to bring, if you have a group from your school, if they'll all come with you, we'll let you all be together. And again, just name and school.
Okay. So my name is Maddie Bridges, and I'm from Riverdale High School. I'm a junior this year and the assistant field commander of the Riverdale High School marching band. Over the past few years, we've been fortunate to identify requests and receive beneficial grants for our students, which have provided $1,000 to $3,500 annually. All of these funds have gone to items and equipment for our students, which otherwise we would do without. A significant portion of these received grants has gone to improve and upgrade musical instruments, several of which date back to the opening of Riverdale in 1972. Most of these grants are from corporations that target 501c3 groups, and without that status and federal tax ID number, we'd be unable to apply for or receive these grants. For the grants given to schools that do not require 501c3 status, we've discovered that grants will not be awarded to a group within the school, especially when the school itself has applied for a grant. In other words, unless our project is identified as a priority within the school, we have no access to pursue funds that would benefit our students' educational experience. And while $1,000 may not seem like a lot, here's some perspective on what it can provide. 3 buses to a local game, 6 concert music selections, 1 to 2 licenses to arrange and perform music for a marching show, 1 marching bass drum and carrier, 1/3 of a marching band PA system for rehearsal. As you can see, with the loss of our nonprofit status comes also a loss of opportunities for students. 501c3 status gives us the flexibility to request funds for our students that may not otherwise be available. Thank you.
Anybody else want to? Since you went to the trouble of coming, ladies and gentlemen, why don't you at least say who you are?
I'm Kyle Cole, and I'm a section leader in the saxophone section, and I'm the head secretary at the Riverdale Band.
Welcome. Thank you.
I am Melissa Paladin, and I am a third-year flute at Riverdale Band.
I'm Emma Blackburn. I'm a sophomore and a section leader of the clarinet section.
All from Riverdale.
And Rutherford County Cable TV does rebroadcast this on YouTube, and you can go in and access this. If you students want to see themselves later, you can.
Danielle Rains, you're bringing your group with you?
Yes.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Danielle Rains. I'll first start by sharing my testimony through the Siegel High School band program. I just graduated in May as a clarinet player in the band, and for my junior and senior years, I was the band's drum major. I was awarded multiple music scholarships to attend Tennessee Tech University in the fall, and plan to be able to graduate debt-free because of those scholarships. I was able to attain these scholarships not only through hard work, but also through the support of our Band Booster program. One of the ways I was able to stand out to colleges when applying was because I was able to make and attend All-State Orchestra, which is Tennessee's best high school orchestra, placing second chair in the state. All-State was a very rewarding experience, but it was also very expensive, and I could not have been able to attend without the support of our Band Booster program, who helped pay for some of the expenses. If booster programs lose their ability to oversee their funds and possible funders choose not to donate anymore, my concern is it possible Current band students will not have the same opportunities I was able to have, likely harming not only the program, but also students' futures. I ask you please to take this into account, and thank you.
Hi, I'm Abigail Parsley. I was in band like 2 years ago, and now I'm in Band of Blue.
I'm Marilyn Kelly, and I also graduated with Abigail, and we were both valedictorians in 2015, and a lot of our high school and further academic success we attribute to our strong band program and the boosters that supported them.
For me, I wanted to join Siegel Band because I knew how good it was, because we had just won COC when I was thinking about joining. And I think a lot of that is because the parents in the booster clubs are able to be flexible with everything that they need to do. If we make finals, they have the opportunities to really have flexibility and take care of us for various needs that might pop up. And that really makes it easy to be successful as a band, and I think it's very attractive to middle school students that are looking into, and people that are looking into moving in to Rutherford County schools. So, yeah.
And just like Danielle, I also received scholarship to go to Middle Tennessee State University. And this was scholarship through the School of Music and other avenues, but I attribute them all to my strong experience in the Siegel High School Band, and that I was able to write about and explain to interviewers my experiences in the band, all which wouldn't be possible without the boosters.
I got Abigail, Danielle, and
Marilyn Kelly.
okay. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Very well done. Okay. Is it Josie Marston? Yes. If you got a group, bring them with you.
Good evening. Hello. My name is Amber Sentinel, the former battalion commander of the Siegel High School JROTC program. First off, I would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak here tonight. And I would like to begin by really commemorating all the hard work that our Booster Club put into the program. When I first came into the program, now it'd be 5 years ago, I really saw how much work it took into creating such a strong program. And some of the things that come to my mind would definitely be our military ball. Which for many cadets is a very huge event, and it takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of work on the part of the Booster Club and the cadets as well. And the cadets and the Booster Club being as involved as they are, I think it really gives the cadets a sense of involvement with their parents, and it really creates a sense of community with them. So I would also like to say that another event would be all the events that we have with drill team and with Raiders, our varsity athletic program for ROTC. None of that would be possible without the work of the Booster Club and all the money that we raise. So we're very thankful to have that opportunity. In fact, a lot of the experiences that I have in ROTC have allowed me to pursue an interest in the military. I received a 3.5-year scholarship to go to MTSU for ROTC, and without that, I don't think I would be where I am right now, so thank you.
Hi, my name is Josie Marston. I'm the current battalion commander at Siegel High School JROTC. I'm just going to sort of repeat some things that Sentinel said. Our Booster Club runs our program, and if it weren't for the parents and all the things they do and their flexibility, we wouldn't run like we do. Last summer, we built our O course for our Raider team. It's our physical team. One of our more successful teams, all our teams are very successful, but Raiders last year, we did very well, and we rebuilt our O course last summer. And when we did, we ran out of planks one day, and our Booster Club was able to run out the same day and get those planks so we could finish our O course. I fear if we make the changes that we're looking at, that won't be as flexible. We'll have to come back a month later and fix that instead of having it done that day and ready for that season. That's just a couple weeks away. We have fun night at the end of the year. That goes on because of our booster club. It's an award. It's typically in April or May, and it's an award for our battalion together for everything we accomplished. And it's after our annual inspection each year as a battalion. And without the booster club, we wouldn't have that. Thank you.
Ladies,
Thank you.
very well done. So, okay, I do not show that I have any students left, so we'll go back to parent stakeholders. How much time do we have, Matt? Okay, all right. Next up is Deborah Hicks. Welcome. Name and address, please.
My name is Deborah Hicks. I live at 914 Azeri Avenue, and I am here on behalf of Blackman High School varsity cheer team. I am their treasurer, one of their treasurers. We have a dual role, and we just have several concerns. A lot have been echoed here tonight, the 501c3. We are donation-based on sponsorships, and a lot of our sponsors will not donate unless we are 501c3 affiliated. Our booster club allows us to do a lot of team building with our team. We are a large group. This year we have 30 kids, and for a cheer team that's big. And our booster club allows us to do team building when it fits into their schedule and not necessarily being able to cut a PO to go do something. The other things we have concerns with is a time management issue with our teachers. If they're going to be required to take in some of these functions, receipting money and being responsible for the money coming in, we're concerned where that will take away from they teach. They're first and foremost teachers and then coaches, and most of them are coach either because it came with their job or the love of the sport, and then we're going to ask them to take on these additional responsibilities. So that's a concern for us as well. And the time that it'll take them to go and purchase everything that we purchase. Again, we have 30 kids. We have multiple vendors that we deal with from our uniforms to our pom-poms to our shoes, and our hair bows. Hair bows are important. So just some concerns for what it's going to take in addition to our teachers and our coaches that they're not currently having to do, that our booster club does for them. We are very open, very transparent. We submit every month the information that's required of us. And it just concerns us how that's going to be taken away if all these changes go into effect. One of the other concerns is we have large events that help us fundraise. Our kids go to nationals every year. They've won 4 national titles at high school level, and they fundraise every dime of that. It costs $50,000 plus for our kids to travel to nationals every year, and they don't pay a dime of it. And when we have our large fundraising events, who's going to be responsible to get our supplies and everything that we need? And if we're in the middle of our fundraising event and we run out of something, how is that going to be handled? None of this information has been given to us as to how this is going to be handled. So we have concerns. We have concerns when we travel, when we go to nationals. If the coaches need something, are they supposed to step away from coaching to go take care of that?
Thank you. We'll be here afterwards.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Lori Glaze. Welcome.
My name is Lori Glaze. I live at 2108 Winthorne Lane, here in Murfreesboro, obviously. I'm representing Siegel JROTC program. I have been with that program since Siegel first opened. Both my children have gone through that program. I have been very involved, including being the president of that booster club 5 years out of the 8 years. The reason that I did it is for the standpoint of a lot of times these kids don't necessarily get the parental support. They're involved with and you know, you all that are boosters, you play mama to a lot of them. You play dad. You play, I went to a competition and I don't have an extra $5. Mama G, can I, you're not going to let them sit. We started out in 2003 bringing over from Oakland High School a very small booster club monetarily. So we had to do several fundraisers. We started out at Star Quest. Within those first couple of years, before we got our 501(c) designation, we averaged about $4,000. Once we got our 501(c), we doubled it, and now the last year, I believe we quadrupled it and to $16,000, because people want to know where their money is going. People want to go. I know that I'm willing to give $500 to ROTC. Would you all be willing to give $500 just for no reason? Not knowing where your money is going to go. So that's a concern with if we do lose the 501(c), because booster clubs are so important. I don't know where my daughters would be without the booster clubs, without the friendships we've made. I have a thing on my cubicle that says, "All my blessings call me mom." And I don't know how many ROTC kids, including probably about 4 of them back there, that have known me as Mama Glaze for this many years. And I've been out of the program for 3, but I continue to be supportive of the Booster Club. And I thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Glaze. Excuse me. Paul Truby? Okay. I think we're moving well.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Carl Truby. I live at 1016 Cascade Falls, Murfreesboro. That's the Walter Hill community on the north side of the county. My son is a Siegel Band member. I have 3 other sons who graduated from Siegel High School in athletic programs in the band and in ROTC. And every one of those programs was supported by booster clubs. As a military member, retired from the Air Force after 23 years, I've seen 14 different schools that my kids have been in across the United States. And like you know that parental involvement is important. When you see parental involvement, you get a school that is recognized at the state level, like many of ours are. And you look at the next county or next community over, no communities, no parental involvement, no parental support, you get a school that's on the opposite end of that spectrum. These booster clubs that we're talking about here, they work off parental involvement. Yes, we're talking about fundraising, but there's so much more to it than fundraising. All right? When these parents who donate their time and their money become frustrated with the levels of government involvement that happen when we have to go through bookkeepers and purchase orders and everything else, they'll get frustrated and they'll quit. And they won't donate their time and their money. And you'll see these state level recognized programs start to falter and fail. And we don't want that. So I would say that for the sins of a few, we're punishing the many because we've had a couple of transgressions. 501(c)(3) charities and others have laws they have to follow. Board of Education employees have laws they have to follow. There's punishment available to those few who err. But let's not punish all the booster clubs because of the wrongs of a few. We need to keep the control with the booster clubs for the work that they do. They have the flexibility that they need, not under the thumb of a bookkeeper or a regulation, but they still have laws and they still have regulations they have to follow. They're still open policy that their books are open to anybody to see. That's a requirement of being a charity like that. So there's no hiding anything anywhere. We need to make sure that we give them, though, the flexibility they need so that when they're on a trip with the band or the ROTC or whatever to an out-of-state competition, that we have the ability to get them what they need to be successful on the spot. Thank you.
Mr. Truby. You're taking up somebody else's time. Kathy Wolf. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. My name is Kathy Wolf. I live at 723 Princess Court.
and I am the current ROTC Booster Club president. This will be my 8th year with the program, and for 7 years I've attended the big finance meetings and was told to never give up our 501c3 status. And now you're asking us just to throw it away. We have been a 501c3 since 2008 and have never had any misuse of funds. Our fundraising ability is critical to our program. It allows all the extracurricular activities you've heard from our cadets. It directly benefits them. Our StarQuest fundraiser relies strictly on friends and family members. Recently, I have had several phone calls and emails from parents telling me they do not feel comfortable donating if they do not know where their money is going. They don't feel comfortable in the big school account. Several businesses have contacted me, or parents that own the businesses, and said they're not sure if they can donate to us if we are not a 501c3. And if we lose the financial support of our parents, it's going to tank our program. Our parents will lose ownership in the program. Right now, they're invested. They help with anything and everything. And I do realize the need for accountability, but we also need flexibility. And what happens when life happens? You know, as much as we plan ahead, is what they've said, buses break down, more people show up. You need that flexibility to go out and handle the problem. Do you think, you know, who's going to pay for the bus when it breaks down? I mean, I'm not going to give them my credit card. And where's the bookkeeper? Where's the principal? Who's going to be there to pull a PO? It's just not feasible. You know, certain trips are taken, things are put on the instructor's credit card and reimbursed. I'm not so sure we can do that if our status is taken away. And we have an extremely successful program at Siegel. Not only do our cadets excel in competition, but they do in academics as well. We have valedictorians. We have had scholarships to West Point, Harvard, several other colleges. Several of our cadets have gone on to shoot at a college level. In 2010, our rifle team was national champion in all services, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, and one of our students, Richard Calvin, he was the top shooter. This is national. They won the state, but this is national. And basically, just kind of to summarize it, all this kind of happens, we feel, is with the 501c3s, because our parents feel comfortable where the money is going, how it's being donated, how it will be used, and it also then allows the flexibility of how we can handle things. We give them flexibility to our instructors. Someone mentioned earlier the same thing. They call me, we go out, we get something, we bring it back. Our instructors are there before school every morning, after school almost every afternoon. We run year-round, nonstop. You go from one team to another team. And we have been very successful.
So much.
I knew I was going to get beat.
Dean with the last name B-U.
But Steve Buffalini, 2296 South Ranch Road.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm only going to take about 10. Thank you for letting us speak, specifically Mr. Jordan, thanks for letting us know, and Mr. Holliday, thank you for working with us to this point on many levels. You know, I keep hearing the booster, but I think it's the 501c3 that's really important here. The booster's great, but I think in the D&J article on the 14th of May it was, or something, it said the monies would be moved to that school account, which kind of, without their separate funds, I think the 501c3 cannot exist. So I think that's what a lot of people's concern comes back to, and I think with the level of parent involvement in all of these activities, which is pretty obvious when you're a part of any of these sort of organizations, whether it's baseball, football, band, all of it. It's all generated towards the betterment of the kids. And I think that's why so many people get involved. And I think the big fear is coming from, once it disappears into the big system, there's no way to, keep the 501c3 intact. And I think that's been everybody's biggest fear to this point. Maybe with a lot of these things, you haven't had answers for all of these yet. I don't know, but thinking outside the box, wouldn't maybe an audit keep the 501c3 intact and still answer everybody's questions. Maybe that's a consideration that the board can take up at a later date. Thank you.
What program?
Me, Siegel.
Okay.
Band. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. That finishes all the people that have signed up. Again, thank you for being with us, board members and the director and the finance director will stay afterwards. Oh, you're going to say, okay. And we'll, of course, we'll pleased to hear your concerns. So again, thank you. Students, very well done. Thank you for being here and sharing your thoughts, and we really appreciate the opportunity to be with you this evening. We stand adjourned.